Hello, and welcome to part two of a five-part series, The Future Landscape of College Board Student Search. My name is Jim Rogers, and I'm a Senior Vice President of Enrollment Strategy here at Carnegie. Prior to Carnegie, I worked in higher education for over 25 years in enrollment management as Dean and Director of Admissions. My archetype at Carnegie is the determined and fun performer, which means that I work hard, never give up, but also bring a little bit of entertainment and fun to the process. So today's goal, we are going to take a deep dive into the College Board features and help you plan for your new subscription in this upcoming cycle. Today's agenda, I'm going to start by talking a little bit more in depth than last time about College Board connections and audiences, talk about landscape context, choosing your College Board subscription, and then again, some next steps. So let's talk about connections and audiences. On my last webinar, we talked a little bit about connections, but I want to go a little bit deeper. The first question that's probably on your mind is, how is College Board search changing, specifically with how much volume of search names will be available in the coming years? So the good news is in the 24 cycle specifically, which I'm sure everyone is mostly concerned about, they are up about 205,000 names year to date compared to last year. Across all cohorts, they're up about 7%. And so you won't see the impact so much of 24 as in 25 and 26. But the good news is everything is tracking a little bit better than it did year to date. So let's talk a little bit more about College Board connections and audiences. So I'm going to define what an audience is and also let you know that you'll be able to send communications directly to these students based on which audiences you select. So the audiences will consist of three things: a class cohort, a geographic region, and a score band. The class cohorts will consist of the 25 class and then a combined 26 and 27 class. And so you'll select one of those cohorts, you'll add a geographic region, and you'll see from the map here all the regions around the country. There are 29 of them, and they're typically based on population. So as you get into the urban areas, that might be one audience, whereas some of the areas that are more densely populated will be across state lines. The score band you'll also see on the chart here, they go anywhere from a 900 or less all the way up to a 1360 or higher. So you'll select one cohort, one region, and one score band, and that equates to one audience. Later in the presentation, I'll let you know about the different plans and exactly how many audiences you have in each subscription level. But again, the most important thing to think about is this is going to be an inquiry generator. You're going to be able to actually push communications to those students through College Board, and hopefully they'll raise their hand, they'll fill out your inquiry form, and they'll go right into your CRM. One other thing College Board recently added is an additional option called the National Student Access Group. And so this is to target students from high challenge environments using College Board's landscape resource. And that's landscape context, which we'll be talking about in just a moment. College Board just recently added the National Student Access Group to the audiences. And what this is it uses the landscape context resource in College Board, which we'll get into just a little bit deeper in a moment. But these students that are coming from challenging backgrounds are going to be able to be targeted through your communication plans and helping to increase your inquiry pool. And this will extend across all score bands and all geographies. And then there'll be two cohorts, the 25 cohort, like we mentioned, and also the secondary cohort of the combined 26 and 27. To reach all of these audiences, all of these populations, it would require 15 audiences to get into one cohort. So for example, you want all your 25 students that have come from challenging backgrounds and you want to target those students for access purposes. You can use up to 15 audiences to cover everyone. If you want to also get your 26 and 27s, it will be 30 audiences. And again, we'll get into what landscape context and what this population looks like in just a moment. So as I said, let's jump right into landscape context. So this is an initiative because access to college is definitely a focus of Connections and the College Board. So let's talk a little bit about how landscape context is going to support access. So the Landscape for Admissions tool, or Landscape Context, is going to provide a consistent and systematic way to target students from neighborhoods and high schools that have different challenges, but excel academically. You can use these for application and scholarship consideration, but the main focus here is to provide an opportunity to go after students from disadvantaged backgrounds. So landscape context will allow you to target students relative to their peers. And what I mean by that is that we'll look at the high school they attend, the neighborhood they're in, and how they did relative to their peers in relation to the services offered at their high school. For example, if they have lacking counseling services, they don't offer AP exams, maybe they don't have test prep, or maybe they also live in a neighborhood that is lower income. Maybe it's students that live in areas that have different challenges that you see on the board here. And then it'll look at the SAT score of that particular student. And if that student scores above the 50th percentile, then they are a high achiever relative to their peers. And you can actually target those students. And it gives a level playing ground for those students that maybe don't have the support and services that others do. So let's talk a little bit about choosing the College Board subscription for next year. In my last webinar, we talked briefly about this, but I want to go into a little bit more detail here now that everyone understands a little bit more about how these are going to be structured. So similar to last year, we've got Access A through Access H, and you can see the number of search records that are included in each one of those. Very similar to last year's subscription, you'll be able to pick a subscription level, and you'll be able to actually have a bank of names that you'll use that go into effect September 1st and expire the following year on August 31st. So again, like I mentioned earlier, landscape context, which was not included in all plans last year, will be included in all plans this year. Also, College Board Connections. And as a reminder for those of you that weren't on the last webinar, this is the tool where students will go to their phones or go to their computer and check the test scores, and then they can actually log in and view their test scores. But at the same time, messaging will be pushed to students based on which audiences colleges have selected. So if you have that audience, you can push messaging to that student. If they're interested, they can go right to the link and fill out a request for information form, go right into your CRM. And you'll see throughout the plans, again, they also have connections audiences. So that is new this year. And so everything I've been talking to you about up to this point is saying each audience, again, has a cohort year, a geographic region, and also a score band. So depending on how many of those that you want to target, you can decide which plan makes most sense for you. So you can see relatively low on Access A to C, but when you get into the D, E, and F, you start to get much larger audiences you can get in touch with. And again, it's a big consideration depending on if you're going to rely solely on traditional search or if connections is something that you're going to also integrate into your plan. You'll also, of course, see all of the additional search features like EPS and segment analysis, interest in my peers. Again, all of these were available last year as well, and you can see which plans include which of these services. One other thing College Board is doing this year, since we're still fairly new to subscriptions, is anyone that signs up and renews their subscription by October 16th of this year will actually get double the audiences in their plan. So for example, if this year you were in Access C, you will automatically get 30 audiences versus the 15 in the standard plan. Now, keep in mind, this only applies to colleges that were in a subscription in this current cycle. If you're brand new to subscriptions and you had the grace period of 1 year where you paid per name, you will not be eligible for this upgrade to audiences. So again, you must have had a plan in the current year to be able to take advantage of this incentive. All right, so let's go on to some next steps. So I will continue to do these webinar series and give you tidbits and pieces of information as we learn more from the College Board about the changes. So again, look forward to 3 more webinar series in the months of July and August. And also start considering your historical volumes, because when you go to sign up for a subscription, you want to make sure first you're not signing up for something too large, because they will expire at the end of the year. You also have to consider the audiences that you need. So are you going to saturate your primary market? Are you planning to continue to build your secondary, maybe explore some new tertiary markets? So again, relying on your search vendor to make sure that they're pulling all that data and you have a really solid foundation of which audiences and which plan that you want to go into. Again, you also want to analyze your score bands. So again, because that score band factor will be in there, there'll be five, I believe, different levels. Then you're going to want to make sure that you actually have enough audiences to support as many score bands as you're targeting, as well as many regions. And again, depending on the cohorts of either 25 or the 26-27 cohort. Again, I mentioned this last time, but again, bring in your creative team. There's going to be an opportunity to push communications through College Board Connections. And pushing them through the connections means that'll be probably webinar 3. We don't have the exact number of communications, but that will be following in future webinars. But for right now, just let your team know that while you have a search campaign that may be running through your CRM, there will be some additional messaging that you'll have to develop and actually push through your College Board Connection service with College Board. And again, also with your Slate team, there's going to be an implementation piece and configuration piece, how you're going to import the data, how you're going to code it, how they're going to move to inquiry, all of those things that happen for your Slate team, or if you're not in Slate, your CRM that you're using. Make sure that you're ordering all of your additional names. If you are in a subscription plan this current year, keep in mind that August 31st date, that all plans will expire at that point. So you want to make sure that you've purchased all names by that point. If you need to add a small plan to get through the summer, maybe you've run out already and you want to do a couple buys before September 1, you can always add an access plan from the previous subscription plans to get you through. And also subscribe to a plan as soon as you're ready. And when I mean ready, that means you've done the research, you've dug through your data, you've evaluated score bands, you've looked at all your historical data, you looked at it regionally, you looked at it by cohort, and you want to make sure that you have a good understanding of which plan to purchase. And again, if you're working with Carnegie, we're going to be there for you, or obviously we can discuss a partnership, or if you have a search vendor you're working with, making sure you're staying in close contact with them. Well, the timeline is at the bottom here as well. The big news is the sign-up window is now open for the new subscriptions. So if you are ready to go, you can do that right away. But again, keep in mind, you will not be able to access that plan until September 1. So if you need some time throughout the summer to figure this out, you do definitely have some time, but it is open for those of you that are ready. And again, you can see the additional time frame throughout the year, but lots of things coming up. And again, we will keep you up to date with the future webinars on everything you need to do. So again, if a takeaway from today would be to just start really digging into that data and figuring out which plans you need, that's probably the good homework assignment for this particular webinar. And keep in mind, Carnegie's here. We have a great Slate team. I know we work with many of the clients that are probably watching this, but if not, and you feel a little bit at unease or don't have a search partner, please reach out to us and we can get a proposal out to you and have a conversation. And again, some resources. I shared these last time, but there are some good links in here about student search or how to partner with us. And again, we will provide this slide deck to you after the presentation. All right, well, thank you very much. Short and sweet, but again, I will be back in touch with you next month with more as we learn more, and hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you.